Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're tackling a question many of you have been asking. Is MRR Holdings a good time to buy right now? This is a company right in the middle of that fascinating and, well, often incredibly volatile world of Bitcoin mining. Before we really get into it, just a quick request. If you find this discussion valuable, please hit subscribe, like, and maybe drop a comment. It genuinely helps us reach more curious minds like yours. And if you'd like to support us even further, hey, consider buying us a coffee. Also, really important, if there's a specific company you want us to look into, leave a comment below right after this intro. We love getting your suggestions.
Absolutely. And we've gathered quite a bit for you today. We're looking at MRR Holdings' latest 10K filings. That's their big annual financial report, plus recent news analyst takes. The goal here is to give you a really comprehensive look. We'll explore their financials, where they stand in the market, what might be coming up that could affect the stock, and definitely the big risks involved. It's all about helping you understand what's actually going on with MRR.
Okay, so MRA Holdings. To really get it, we need to start with the financials, and honestly, they show some pretty dramatic shifts. It's not exactly a straightforward picture. Let's unpack this a bit. So looking at their fundamentals, fiscal year 2024, right? Total revenue hit $388.3 million. That's actually a 9% increase over 2023. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, sounds okay on the surface.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, they also reported a net loss of $113.8 million for that same year. That gives them a negative net margin of almost minus 29%. And the diluted loss per share was $1.09.
Yeah, and the initial read is, well, it's fascinating. Seeing revenue go up is positive, sure. But that big net loss for the full year 2024 tells you they just weren't profitable on the bottom line. That usually points to a business with, really high operating costs, or maybe one that's just pouring money into expansion.
Yeah.
We also saw that the consensus analyst estimates pointed towards continued losses for fiscal 2025, although they were expected to get smaller. However, and this is really crucial for you to understand, you probably heard about their Q2 2025 results. They were surprisingly strong. Back in July 2025, MIRA reported Q2 revenue was up a massive 64% year over year, came in at $238 million. And get this, net income was up 505%, an incredible $808.2 million profit.
Wow.
Yeah. It just shows the extreme volatility, right?
And the huge potential for profit in this sector.
Really?
All depends so heavily on Bitcoin's price and how efficiently they operate in a given quarter. So yeah, FY 2024 was a loss, but their most recent quarter, Q2 25, was a significant profit. That contrast is absolutely key for our discussion. That's a huge contrast. It really highlights how fast things can change in this industry. So for you listening, it's clearly not just about looking at one annual report. You have to track the most recent performance because it can completely flip the script. Okay, so beyond just the income statement roller coaster, how healthy is MRA financially? You mentioned the 2024 numbers. As of the end of December 2024, they had about $295.6 million in cash. But total debt was $732.5 million. That includes convertible notes too. And free cash flow for FY 2024, negative $89 million. And historically, they've often operated with negative free cash flow.
Mm-hmm. And that brings up a really important question. How does a company with that much debt and a history of negative free cash flow keep the lights on and even try to grow? Now, their current ratio is 2.7x at the end of 2024. That means basically $2.70 in short-term assets for every dollar of short-term liabilities. That provides, decent liquidity, a bit of a buffer. But that high debt load combined with really volatile cash flows, that's a persistent risk. It just is. It means they really need things to go well operationally, and they need favorable market conditions just to manage their debt. And competitively, well, MAR wants to be among the biggest Bitcoin miners out there, measured by deployed hash rate. That's their total computing power. They talk about leveraging scale, vertical integration, getting access to low-cost power. Those are their stated advantages. But these advantages are always fighting against how sensitive they are to Bitcoin's price swings, and of course, the regulatory uncertainty that always seems to hang over crypto.
Okay, so a balance sheet with, let's say, some challenges. High debt, volatile history. Given all that, how is the market actually valuing MRA? We often talk about price to earnings, the PE ratio, but like you said, with the net losses in FY 2024 and projected losses for FY 2025, even with that amazing Q2 25 profit, traditional PE, doesn't really tell us much here, does it?
Exactly, yeah. It's not a very useful metric in this case. What's really quite interesting, though, is that even with those full-year losses factored in, their price-to-sales ratio, PS, is sitting at 8.1. The industry average is more like 6.3. And their price-to-book, PB, it's 3.5 versus an industry average of 2.1.
So a premium valuation compared to their peers.
That's what it implies, yeah. Based on sales and book value metrics, they're trading at a premium. So for you, as someone thinking about investing, it suggests the market is pricing in some serious future growth. Or, maybe more likely, a strong belief in Bitcoin's long-term prospects, despite MRA's own full-year financial picture recently. It kind of forces you to ask, am I investing in this specific company's operations, or am I essentially making a leverage bet on Bitcoin itself? And just to note, we couldn't really put together a reliable discounted cash flow, a DCF model, for MAA. The future cash flows are just too unpredictable, and there aren't consistent positive earnings estimates long-term.
So the market's betting on Bitcoin's future, maybe more than MER's steady profits. That's definitely something you need to weigh carefully. What about the stock price itself? How has it been moving? What are the charts telling us?
Well, looking at the charts, over the last month or so, MAA shares have been trading roughly between $14.80 and $18.20. We see some technical support around that $14.80 to $15.20 level. Resistance seems to be near $18.20 to $19. The stock's actually been in a kind of volatile, sideways, maybe slightly downward trend since about June 2025. And the technical indicators, the 50-day simple moving average, the SMA, which gives a sense of the short-term trend, is around $16.30. The price is currently hovering near or maybe just below that, which suggests weakened short-term momentum. The RSI, Relative Strength Index, is around 43 to 48. That's pretty neutral, maybe slightly leaning towards oversold, but not strongly either way. And the MTD indicator, it's not showing any clear bullish momentum right now. So what this means for you, especially if you're thinking short-term, is that the technical picture isn't screaming buy based on upward pressure at this exact moment.
Got it. So technicals are a bit lukewarm. Beyond the numbers and charts, what's actually been happening with MPRA Holdings recently and what's coming up that could potentially move the stock? Any key catalysts we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, there have been some significant developments in the last 3 months. Back in August, their Bitcoin holdings actually topped 50,000 BTC. That cemented them as the second largest publicly traded holder of Bitcoin. They also managed to increase their energized hash rate by about 3%, up to 58.9 exahashes per second, or EHs. And that was despite what many said was a pretty challenging mining environment then. We already talked about those huge July Q2 2025 results, the big revenue and net income surge. That strong performance for that quarter is a really important positive counterpoint to the full year 2024 loss. It shows the potential is there. And in June, they announced a really ambitious target, reaching 75 EHs by the end of 2025. That's over 40% growth from 2024, backed by placing substantial orders for new mining machines. But on the flip side, Bitcoin production declined in June because of weather issues forcing them to curtail operations. It's a reminder of those real-world environmental factors that can impact the business.
Right, those growth targets and piling up all that Bitcoin are definitely eye-catching for potential investors. What about specific upcoming events or news? What should we watch for in the next, say, 3 months?
Okay, looking ahead, several key dates. First up, September 25th, 2025. That's their Q3 earnings release. This will be really important for clarity on profitability and efficiency, especially since it's the first full quarter reported after the Bitcoin halving event.
Ah, the halving impact. Crucial.
Exactly. Then, September 30th, you have ETF quarterly rebalancing. That can sometimes jostle the share price depending on fund flows. October 15th is when we start seeing institutional investor 13F filings. That can show if big institutions were buying or selling MARA shares in Q3.
Always interesting to see what the big money is doing.
Yep. And then November 1st, we should get their Q3 Bitcoin Treasury update showing how much Bitcoin they're holding. Beyond those dates, there are always, rumors and whispers, things like potential international expansion to places with cheaper power, maybe M&A activity, miners consolidating. There's also speculation about whether MARA might sell or maybe borrow against some of its huge Bitcoin stash. And hints about deploying next-gen, more efficient mining hardware. Oh, and insider activity. Recent reports mostly showed tax-related selling, nothing that looked like discretionary buys or sells based on outlook. Analyst ratings, generally leaning towards hold, largely reflecting that sector-wide volatility we keep talking about.
Okay, so quite a few potential catalysts that could swing things, maybe significantly. But let's talk about the other side, the risks. What are the inherent dangers that you as an investor absolutely must be aware of here?
And the risks are substantial. You really need to pay attention here. MARB faces fundamentally volatile cash flows. We've seen that. There's the potential for sustained losses in certain periods, and they have heavy capital spending needs for new machines and facilities. That mix exposes the business to liquidity risk. Their earnings are just so closely tied to the price of Bitcoin. That leads to extreme profit swings quarter to quarter. And the whole industry faces ongoing threats from potential U.S. crypto regulations, which could become more restrictive. That landscape can change fast. Plus, mining margins themselves are super sensitive to energy prices, a huge cost, and network difficulty. As more computing power joins the Bitcoin network, it gets harder to mine each coin, squeezing profitability. So for you, it just means there's a very, very high degree of uncertainty baked into this kind of investment.
Wow. So it's not just Bitcoin's price risk. It's regulatory risk, energy price risk, technological obsolescence risk with the mining gear, competition risk. It sounds like a minefield, almost literally. It's like trying to invest in something where success depends on predicting the price of gold, the weather, government policy, and the pace of technological change all at once. How do you even value that? Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. Financials, valuation, news, catalysts, and those significant risks. So let's bring it together. What's the overall take on MRR holdings? Especially for someone asking that core question, is MRR a good time to buy now?
Right, putting it all together, our analysis leads us to give MRI an overall rating of 3 out of 10.
Ooh, okay. A 3 out of 10. Why so low?
Well, let's break it down. For the short term, it's extreme volatility and that history of inconsistent profits from a full-year view make MERA highly speculative, really speculative. It's probably only suitable for traders with a very high tolerance for risk, people looking to play the swings in crypto prices. Yes, that strong Q2 2025 result shows incredible potential, absolutely, but it also perfectly illustrates the intense inherent volatility of this business model.
Made sense. And for the long term?
For the long term, we think the investment case is frankly diminished. Despite their competitive scale, which is a positive, they are big, the premium valuation we talked about. The persistent losses, when you look at full fiscal years, the heavy debt load, and that extreme dependence on Bitcoin's price, they create really significant hurdles for a typical conservative long-term portfolio. Scale helps, but it doesn't really offset the cash flow risks and those looming regulatory threats. So summing it up, best suited perhaps for short-term trading by speculative traders who understand and accept the high risks. Not really recommended for long-term investment, given the fundamental challenges and sector uncertainty.
There you have it, our detailed look at Dividend Holdings. We've tried to dissect the facts, the sentiment, the risks, hopefully to help you make more informed decisions. Ultimately, though, that question, is it a good time to buy now, really depends entirely on your personal risk tolerance, your timeline, your investment strategy, especially with a stock that moves like this, so tied to the crypto market.
Indeed. And as you think about all this, maybe consider this question. In a world where a company's bottom line can swing from huge losses one year to massive profits in a single quarter, driven mostly by the price of one digital asset, what does fundamental investing even mean in that context? How do you truly assess the value and risk for your own diversified portfolio when you encounter situations like this? It's definitely a challenging and dynamic landscape out there.
That is a fascinating thought to chew on. Thank you for joining us on Investing Talk podcast. We sincerely hope this analysis gives you some valuable insights. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and invest wisely.